I just want to be
our
clear.
communities
You believe
safe
in
from hate
investing
and bias.
in community safety by defunding the police?
I am here to say that I'm really grateful we have the Southern Poverty Law Center because it is doing work, including with law
and you
enforcement,
think defunding
to
the police
prevent
makes our community
hate
safer?
and bias.
Okay.
He is a questioner who won't let go. Freshman Congressman from Texas, Brandon Gill, at a hearing on the DOJ's indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center this week. Joining us now is the aforementioned Brandon Gill, member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. Congressman, great to see you. Thanks for being here. By the way, you've got a style. I remember watching you in January against Jack Smith, the prosecutor Jack Smith. You are a good, very good lawyer yourself, but you don't have a law degree, do you?
No, I don't. I'm finance and media by background, but no legal experience. But you know, we're at a point where you don't have to have legal experience to hold the left's feet to the fire. You just have to have facts and truth behind you, and that's pretty easy whenever the left's on the other side of the aisle.
Well, your interrogation, and I hope you don't mind if I call it, the Jack Smith in January was basically similar to this interrogation because the truths had been hidden for so long. In the case of Jack Smith, it was spying, literally spying on House members, Republican House members, without their knowledge, getting phone data from them. And he essentially had to, you pushed him to the point where he had to admit that was actually happening, even though it wasn't supposed to happen. With the Southern Poverty Law Center, it's the fact that they were paying these hate groups, which they were supposedly against, just in order to get more money from contributors. Were they able to admit, as Jack Smith did, that what they were doing was wrong?
You know, they will never admit it, and the witness didn't want to speak for the SPLC, unfortunately. It was amazing that the Democrats bring in somebody who has a long history, not only of just left-wing activism, but in particular defunding the police. This is somebody who ran as a mayoral candidate in New York on a platform of cutting $1 billion from the NYPD, and then will turn around and defend the SPLC funneling their donor money without donors' knowledge to groups like the KKK and other hate groups in order to fuel this type of hate that they then blame on conservatives. I mean, it is so backwards. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, well, and of course it could get worse if it turns out that the FBI was using some of these confidential informants for their purposes, maybe even January 6th. Did you get any more information about that?
We've still got more digging to do on the confidential informants. I mean, what we know is that there were payments that the FBI sent out, tens of thousands of dollars, but we still need answers for that. We want to know, was the SPLC involved in that? That's still an open question.
Okay, and something that is no longer an open question is what was happening with the Medicaid fraud, particularly in Minnesota, but elsewhere. We had the indictments that we heard about yesterday, but beyond that, you're looking into Ohio, I understand, about Medicaid fraud in Ohio. Tell us what you've learned about that.
Well, I'm chairing the task force on defending constitutional rights and exposing institutional abuse. It was just started last week. And to begin this task force, we launched an investigation into Medicaid fraud in Ohio, and we're building off of reporting that's been done publicly after DOJ made public Medicaid records across the country. So what we found is that there's a home health services sector in Ohio, which includes services like conversation and consultation with patients. They're oftentimes done by family members. All you have to do is go to a doctor, get a note. You can get Medicaid payments for these services. You don't have to verify that these services are even provided. You don't have to have any kind of medical background, and there's no cap on the spending in these programs. And they're facilitated by what we found about 300 shell LLCs that are facilitating these Medicaid payments. The vast majority, we believe, is fraudulent. We believe that there's probably about $1 billion a year that the federal taxpayers are losing in this scheme. And we've requested documents, information, and communications from the Ohio Medicaid Agency because we want to figure out what's going on here and get the details and end it.
Now, as big as Ohio is, it's bigger than Minnesota, but it ain't as big as California, and it ain't as big as New York. And I'm being told that that's really going to be, we're talking, rather than $1 billion alone, single-digit billions, we're talking double digits or maybe even triple-digit billions of dollars. Have you been hearing that?
That's right. I think that there is an enormous amount of fraud in California and New York. And what we're doing with this task force, and I think with the Oversight Committee broadly, is taking it state by state to dig in. What you find is that you see similar patterns. There are, sort of idiosyncratic differences in the way the fraud is actually carried out. But you see similar patterns, which is that you've got a Medicaid, which is a program administered by states, but largely funded by the federal government, where there's an incentive misalignment and all kinds of open doors for fraud. So we started in Minnesota, we're in Ohio now, and we may be in California, New York, or another state here very soon.
You know, another thing you've been looking into, which is a bugaboo of mine, is birth tourism business.
Yep.
And it's just extraordinary. That is how companies are advertising to foreigners, saying, "Look, come on to Miami or come on to New York. We'll give you a chance to expectant mothers." Telling them to have their babies here so that, you can have birthright citizenship, even go back to your country, but you'd have a family member that was a citizen of the U.S. and enjoying all kinds of benefits from that. That's really not what the 14th Amendment was meant for, is it?
No, it's not. Well, of course, the 14th Amendment was designed for the children of freed slaves to ensure that they could be United States citizens. And by the way, throughout American history, American jurisprudence has been very consistent that there are people who don't fall under this category of birth tourism, that the children of invading armies, the children of certain Native American tribes, the children of diplomats. What we've seen and what we're working on in the Oversight Committee with this task force is we've requested documents and information and communication from 4 different companies that are engaging openly in birth tourism. One of these companies, by the way, it was literally called Have My Baby in Miami. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up.
Oh, my goodness.
So
well, at least they were honest about it.
At least they're transparent about the illegal activity. So I think that we've got the issue with birthright citizenship that we need to deal with. Yeah. But apart from that, this is immigration fraud that we're seeing on a very large scale, and these businesses are making a lot of money off of it. So we're going to get to the bottom of it, and the goal is to end this practice as well.
Yeah. By the way, we gotta go, but without the majority in Congress, if you lose that in the midterm elections, you won't have subpoena power, you won't have the power to organize these investigations, et cetera. We'd really be losing a lot, wouldn't we?
We would. It's far more than just having radical Speaker Hakeem Jeffries. It is losing the ability to go after Medicaid fraud, birth tourism, going after companies that are engaging in illegal DEI. It's everything would come to an end.
Well, just when you're getting some pay dirt here, be ashamed to lose that.
That's right.
Great to see you, Congressman Brandon Gill. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.